Do you ever get the feeling that you are sabotaging your own life? Not in the dramatic crash a car into a wall sort of way, more like losing a job opportunity because you didn't believe you were worth it, or pushing someone away because you thought they were going to leave anyway. It's almost like there's some little shadow version of you living in your head, whispering every wrong move to take, and sometimes you listen, sometimes you follow that voice like it knows something you don't. And maybe it does. Maybe it knows exactly what it needs to say to keep you small, to keep you safe, to keep you not happy, but familiar. Because even if it hurts, at least it's a pain you understand. That's the strange part, right? A lot of the time, the worst enemy we have is us. And it's not because we're bad, it's because we're scared. And the brain, this ridiculously complex clump of cells and electricity, it doesn't always want what's best for us, it just wants what's known, predictable, controllable, even if it's awful. We like to think of the brain as a loyal friend, a brilliant sidekick that has our back. But that's not quite accurate. The brain isn't built to be your friend, it's built to keep you alive. And that means it has some strange priorities. It would rather you stay lonely than risk rejection. It would rather you stay anxious than risk being unprepared. It would rather you doubt yourself constantly, chronically, than overestimate your value and get hurt. Because from an evolutionary standpoint, the worst thing you can do isn't failing, it's dying. And from your brain's perspective, embarrassment, heartbreak, even shame, they all feel a little like death. So it protects you with stories. Little ones at first, quiet things. Don't say that, they'll think you're stupid. Don't go there, you'll mess it up. Don't try that, it's not for people like you. These stories pile up, and then one day, you're not even sure which voice is yours anymore. That's how it happens. You become the villain in your own life. You build a castle out of your own fears and trap yourself in it, and then you start to decorate. You hang up memories that prove you're not enough. You repeat mantras like, I'm not creative, or I always ruin everything, until they feel like facts. The scariest part, you don't even notice you're doing it. This isn't hypothetical, it's painfully real. People build entire lives, decades, on foundations of lies their brain told them. And then one day maybe they ask, what if I'm wrong about myself? What if I'm not broken, just misled? What if I'm not weak, just scared? What if the enemy I've been fighting is actually me, trying to protect me? That shift, that one question, is where everything starts to change. Because yeah, the brain is flawed. It panics, it hallucinates, it gaslights, it rewrites memory, it's biased beyond belief. But here's the good news. It's also malleable. It wants to change. It just doesn't know how until you teach it. And that's where this absurd little thing called life gets interesting. You see, life doesn't care what you think of yourself. It just keeps coming. Full of randomness, accidents, beauty, pain, weird opportunities, and moments that make no sense. It's a strange game. There are barely any rules and the goalposts are invisible. But if you learn how to play, not perfectly but consciously, you start to realize you can win without even beating anyone else. That's because winning isn't what we thought it was. It's not money or clout or having six-pack abs and 3 backup plans. It's something quieter, more subtle. Winning is when you stop playing against yourself, when you get off your own back, when you stop setting fires and then crying that everything's burning. Sometimes winning is just being able to sit in a room alone with your own thoughts and not hate the person you're stuck there with. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it's real. Because the most dangerous lies are the ones that feel like truth. And the ones we tell ourselves, those are the trickiest of all. I'm unlovable. I'm too much. I'm too late. I don't matter. None of those things are true, but if you believe them long enough, your life will start to organize itself around them. That's how powerful your own mind is. It's not some passive narrator describing your reality. It's the author. It writes you into corners and plots, tragic arcs and redemptions. It casts villains and heroes and extras. It builds the sets, paints the sky, dims the lights when you're tired. And if it wants to, it can change the script. But it won't do it without your help. Because your brain, incredible as it is, can't tell the difference between what's real and what's repeated. That's why affirmations work. That's why mantras matter. That's why if you spend years telling yourself you're stupid or ugly or unworthy, it believes you. So yeah, your brain can be your worst enemy. But with a little effort, it can also be your ally. It starts with noticing. Not judging, just noticing. The way you talk to yourself. The beliefs you repeat. the emotions that come up and how quickly you shove them down. You don't have to change everything all at once, but you do have to be curious, because curiosity is the antidote to shame. When you get curious about your patterns instead of disgusted by them, something weird happens. You stop being the enemy. You start being the observer. And when you observe without judgment, you give yourself space to grow. The absurdity of life isn't that it's painful. The absurdity is that it matters. That even when everything feels random and unfair, we still find meaning. We still try. We still reach for each other in the dark. Even after heartbreak, even after failure, even after all the evidence says, give up, some small part of us still says, try again. Why? Because maybe, just maybe, we were built for more than survival. Maybe we were built for transcendence, and not in the grand, mystical way, but in the small moments. The moment you realize you don't have to believe every thought that shows up. The moment you speak kindly to yourself for no reason. The moment you stay with the discomfort instead of running from it. Those are the victories that don't show up in highlight reels, but they are the ones that build a life worth living. Yes, the brain is unreliable. It makes up stories. It confuses past and present. It loops in fear and forgets joy. But it also learns and heals and rewires. You are not doomed by your first draft. You are not stuck with the identity you cobbled together in pain. You can rewrite, you can rebuild, even if it's messy, even if it takes years, even if nobody else sees it. You can be the glitch in your own code. You can question every belief you inherited. You can hold space for your past self without letting them steer the ship. You can be the parent you never had. You can be the friend you always needed. You can give yourself the dignity of being more than what happened to you. That doesn't mean it's easy. Some days you'll want to go back to the old script. Some days you'll believe the worst things you think about yourself. That's okay. You don't have to win every battle. You just have to stay in the fight. Because the alternative? Giving up. Letting the voice in your head win, handing over the reins to the most fearful, wounded part of you and saying, yeah, you drive. That's not peace. That's surrender. And you are too precious for that. You're allowed to be complicated. You're allowed to contradict yourself. You're allowed to fall apart and start over as many times as it takes. You're a story still being written, not a problem to be solved. So maybe life is a game, not the kind you beat, but the kind you learn how to play better. The kind where the rules change halfway through and everyone's making it up as they go. And maybe that's the point. To not win despite the absurdity, but to win because of it. Because when nothing makes sense, everything becomes possible. You're not late, you're not broken, you're not behind, you're alive, and that in and of itself is a miracle. Don't waste it being your own jailer. Don't waste it believing the first draft of your brain story. You are not your thoughts, you are the thinker. You are not your fear, you are the observer of fear. And most importantly, you are not your past. You are the author of what comes next. So write something beautiful, even if nobody else reads it, even if it's just for you, especially if it's just for you. Because the moment you start living like you believe you're worth more than your pain, that's when everything changes. Not all at once, but enough to matter. Enough to say, I'm here, I'm trying, I'm still in the game, and this time, I'm not playing against myself.